Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, good whatever time of day it may be for you. I'm the Layback Gamer, and here today we find that only 10 are truly the best. The top 10 cards of this expansion. And I'm hoping I'm calling this right, but at the same time, I am unsure. So, without further ado, let us start. In the number 10 spot, what do we have? I have quite a bit. Now, I'm picking this, and it based on there's a little bit of personal liking to the card in this, but but I'm picking it on genuine thinking that this is gonna go well. A tiny bit of I really like this card. A tiny bit of excuse me. The goal. Well, actually, not really. I didn't make this with this in mind, but if I really wanted to, I could. A tiny bit of, hey, the premium art looks really sweet. And overall, the cards I think have the most potential to be the best. So, starting off with our number 10, we have, it's a strength card. Costs 7 or more. Well, that gives it away really easy. But the Red Year, 10 mana action, deal 10 damage to each creature. Now, again, like last time, as I said in the previous video, I'm not going to go into why I think these are the case. I'm just going to mention them, and if I can, I will attempt to put a timestamp in the description. If not, at the very least, I will try to put a link to the video in the description where I discussed each of these cards. Number 9, we go to Willpower. 3 cost of Hlahu Oathman. 3 mana 2/2 summon if you have an agility card in play, gain 3 magic at this turn, or strength card in play, you draw a card, or if you have both, gain both effects. Coming in at the number 8 spot, we flip over to the triple class cards, go out of 3 up to 7 cost, and the winner is Dagoth coming in at your number 8 spot. Then coming in at number 7, I said is number 7. Yep, number 7. We go to here. Oops. I tongue twister. Psych everybody up by quickly going to 6 and then picking Tel'Vos Magister. A 6 mana 5/4 with ward, and at the end of your turn gain ward. I didn't have to introduce Dagoth because Dagoth is already so well known. He doesn't need his own introduction. He is the introduction. That made no sense, but just go with it. Then coming in at number 5, we go back to Willpower. Willpower then it goes right to 4 costs for the Grand Inquisitor. 4 mana 2/3, Exalt 4, +3/+3, and it destroys a friendly creature. Not a friendly creature. That would be a nightmare. That would not make this list if that was the case. Destroys a creature with less power than the Grand Inquisitor. This is less power. Just keep that in mind. You cannot kill a 2 cost or a 2 attack or a 5 attack minion with this. Well, you can kill the 2 attack if you exalt, but still. Coming in at number 4? No, yes, no. 10th, 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th. 5th. My bad. This is number 5th. So if this last one I said 5th, this is actually 6th. 5th is we go to Endurance. Go to 3. It's Ildorian Mastermind. A 3 mana 2/1 look at the top 2 cards of your deck. Draw 1, discard the other. Not a bad battle. Pretty good battle cry. Pretty good summon effect. Gotta like it. But unfortunately, it gets triumphant by Willpower's 2 cost Vivek Pilgrim. A 2 mana 2/2 with Drain and exalts 3 +2/+2. When it exalts, of course, it'll beat Ildorian Mastermind, and it has the Drain to give you some extra health. But of course, doesn't compare to the I lied. The Hlahu Haunted Manor, a 3 mana support, ongoing, and gives the second creature you summon each turn +2/+2. So all those plot creatures that you want to play, well, guess what? They now gain some extra bonus when you plot with them. Coming in at number 2 may surprise some people. is going to be a 7 cost. And which are we going to? We are going here. No, I lied. We are going back here. Nyx Ox coming in at number 2. 7 costs. Beast 5/5. Gain 5 magicka this turn. This was set to be the number 1 card of this expansion. But the nerf made way for another card. Yet another card. Nyx Ox gets beaten by this. A lot of creatures get beaten by this. Anything under 7 health gets beaten by the Spirit... Oh, hold on a minute. Hold on, I cannot show Spirit Knife in that form. I must show the Spirit Knife as the reigning champion. What I think to be the best card of this expansion. 7 mana action, deal 7 damage to a creature and draw a card. Has a huge damage load. Throw this into somebody, pick up a card from the top of your deck, and everything's a good. Chain this out, play Thorana with this, do whatever you want. Heck, if you even have if you have Mushroom Tower, Betray, and you get 2 Spirit Knives for the price of 1 and the death of one of your friends. But his spirit becomes a knife that kills another one, making this the best card, in my opinion, in this expansion. Alright, that was fun. I enjoyed that. So, I'm going to also pick my favorite 3, and it's not really to do much... It's not really to do much with power, but just because I like the card. This is in no particular order, but Mighty Conjuring. I love it whenever I get to summon a Lava Atronach. I think they're pretty awesome creatures. This card fits what I like, and I like Atronachs and just playing a bunch of them out. Having Tutor out allows me to play for, 7 mana, as long as I have a creature that has 5 or more power. A free Lava Atronach, and even if I don't, if I still have Conjuration Tutor out, I get 2 Atronachs for the price of 7, and I just get 1 if I don't have them out for the price of 7, which, it's okay. Another one is the Red Year. I love it as a 10 damage board nuke to every creature on the board. Only weakness is Ward and some forms of Last Gasp, but still, and anything that's stronger than it, but still, very strong board removal. And then the last card, another favorite of mine, going to the 6 cost, Umbra. 6 mana item, 3/5. At the start of your turn, the wielder battles an enemy creature of Umbra's choosing. I've had a really good arena round with Umbra. I wanted to pick this card when I first saw it. I was a little hesitant, if I remember correctly, but then I decided we're going to play Umbra. Going to go all in with the items. Daedric Crescent, Umbra, kill a creature, gain +1/+1. The works, very fun, and comboing with Drain, I'm gaining so much health back. It was a blast of an arena run, and I really want to try to recreate that experience in the constructed scene. Alright, so now that we're done with that, I'm going to go ahead and not sign off, but we're going to discuss another interesting topic. Okay, first off, I'm going to turn this, mute the game volume of this, so that I can get a little bit serious here. Future, first off, we'll start. So far, Houses of Morrowind have made a huge impact on this game so far. It has introduced 5 new classes you can play, being 5 houses, and each one of them has their own quirks, and while some are better than others at certain aspects, I find them all really fun to play. I have a deck for each one of them. I've been trying to test out some new things based on what I think could work, but ultimately, I think this expansion is definitely something this game needed. It adds a fresh new face to the game, which is what a major card expansion should do. Major card expansions need to have that push for people to play something other than the same 2 decks that somebody else made months ago over and over again. And I wish Clockwork City had more of an impact. I mean, I wasn't expecting Clockwork City to make a huge impact. I was just expecting it to make more of an impact than what it did. It brought forth, I think maybe, well, for the first bit, people were experimenting, trying to have fun with this. But in the end, it only brought forth a couple of new decks, and they were mid-tier at best. Nothing high A-tier and competitive. I don't look at deck lists, so I could be wrong, and there could be a bunch of them out there that came out of Return to Clockwork City. But now to talk about future expansions. And I'm going to talk about this in this part here just because, well, I have plenty of time left on the video, and I think this would be a very interesting section to discuss this with. So, now knowing kind of a pattern they've been taking, plus seeing all the other news that has been coming out, I believe that the next card dump expansion is going to take place in one of two areas. The first one, which I'm gunning for, is Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. Hold on, telephone. Alright, so, back on the thought that I was thinking. So, I believe we're going to be seeing Oblivion come into this. Why do I believe this? Why do I think that? Well, look at the most recent expansions that we've had. We've had, well, actually, card dump. In terms of card dump expansion, we had the core set. Then we had Skyrim, Heroes of Skyrim. Now we have Houses of Morrowind. So, in that order, it makes it look like these guys are just taking the concepts of previous successful Elder Scroll games and implementing it into Elder Scrolls Legends. So I think Oblivion is the next in line to do this because it was another very successful. They have a lot to pull from. If they're going to do an Oblivion expansion, well, around Skyrim, they had a lot to pick from. They did. The main theme was dragons. Dragons and the Stormcloak Rebellion. That's what, when I think of Heroes of Skyrim, that's what I think of. They had some other characters in there, a couple of... I don't think they did anything from the Dark Brotherhood just because they had just finished doing a Dark Brotherhood campaign. So they didn't pull anything from there, but they had the Thieves Guild there. They had... Well, there. Let's go take a look at Heroes of Skyrim. When you take a look at your at a couple of classes, what do you see? For strength, I see companions, stormcloaks, a couple of orcs, yes. No, I should take this off of the golden. And dragons. What do I see for intelligence? I see just a mishmash of stuff. Oh, Greybeards in shouts. Thalmor is another one that comes up. Dragons again. Mages Guild. And dragons. Willpower. I see the warriors of the devoted warriors of Skyrim. A bit of Thalmor in there, more dragons, more... well, actually, I see more Legion. I see the Legion from Willpower, and dragons, and a little bit of Thalmor mixed in with there. Agility, I see Falmer. A couple of Spriggans, another dragon, Falmer, Chorus, which kind of the same. Bit of Thieves Guild action going in there. More dragons, and that's it. I look at here, endurance. I see, undead, but undead that go with dragons. I see more companions, more shouts, more mention of the main quest in High Hrothgard, even a reference to the Dark Brotherhood in Emperor Titus Mead. So, but you get the idea. So the main theme around it was, the main concept was dragons, and then they had all the other subplots going off of there. And Houses of Morrowind, each house got its own representation, and you had a little bit of each house in each of the attributes that made up that house. So, for example, Dagoth, you had creatures that interacted with 5 or more power. It also had plot. Look, you get the idea behind that. So for Oblivion, I think it would be centered around Mehrunes Dagon and the Oblivion invasion, because that was the main quest of that game. The main quest for you is to, as the hero of Kvatch, is to stop Mehrunes Dagon's invasion. I think that would be it. A new mechanic could be a new thing could be sigil stones. Sigil stones in Oblivion were these orbs that you got after you closed a gate, and you would gain them, and you can use it as basically a free enchantment, and would give typically more powerful enchantments than you could otherwise enchant off of an enchanter, which I think could also make it into the game. So what keywords do I think would come out of this? I think Savior would come out of it, and it would be... Ooh, how would I trigger this? I wouldn't want to do it as the same as Slay. Or Slay. I think Savior would be... Not quite sure. Actually, I don't know. Okay, how about this? It's when a creature is attacked and survives damage, it's considered a savior because, well, for instance, perhaps it saves somebody else's life. And savior will give you a sigil stone in which you can use it to create an enchant. You can use it and enchant a random creature with, say, it'll give you random sigil stones that can give you anywhere from, for every attack, it'll give you plus something attack, plus something in health. The cost of it is related to the health, the attack the health and attack that it gains. So say you get a sigil stone that has +2/+2, it would cost 2. And it would only go up in increments as that, so that way you're not getting like a 9/1. And the map cap could be... Actually, a 12/12 sigil stone would be interesting. And you gain a keyword with it. For every level. If you have a sigil stone that goes 1 to 4, you have 1 keyword. 5 to 8, 2 keywords. 6 to 12, or 9 to 12, 3 keywords. That way you represent the power level of each sigil stone, of all the sigil stones that you can get from Oblivion. And again, you get those off of the Savior mechanic, and the Savior mechanic activates whenever a creature attacks something else and survives damage. So kind of like the let's see here. Willpower, 5 cost, Houses of Morrowind. Was it Endurance? No, it's Endurance? No, it's Strength. Strength. I lied. The Fetchifly Golem would be a great thing to have this keyword with. It would be Savior. In this case, it'd be Savior, summon a 2/2 Fetchifly, a swarm. So I think that would be a pretty interesting mechanic. And then, of course, from that, you have a bunch of Daedra added in. Now, granted, we already have quite a few Daedra that's already in that game added to here, but there's some that are not. For example, you can add in a Daedroth, which is a large, think of it, humanoid alligator or humanoid crocodile standing on 2 legs. It's a giant in creature. Picture this Fetchifly Golem with the face of an alligator and a tail coming out the back, reptilian-like scales flowing all over it, and there you go. Scamps. We haven't seen a scamp in this game, so you can easily do scamp. We have 1 Clannfear in this game, but I think we did this with Hunger, or they did this with Hunger in the House of Morrowind. They added in Feasting Hunger. I think we can add in another Clannfear to this. There's a couple of Dremora that were prominent in that game, in Oblivion, so you can add in a couple other Dremoras. I forget, I think it's pronounced Zivilian, and I like to think of the Zivilians as the larger. They kind of look a little bit like Wolverine, blue skin, larger. They can wield a two-handed weapon with one hand, conjure up creatures. I think we can have that as um, a legendary and non-unique legendary card into the game. And that's about all the Daedra I can remember off the top of my head. So you can definitely base a theme around Daedra. You just add in a bunch of different Daedra cards to this, and then of course, well, no, actually I shouldn't say that. I don't think we'd ever see a Mayroom's Dagon card added to the game. But as some of the subplots, you can have a mage, a small intelligence could have some mages guild. Agility can have some. It could have a couple of thieves guild. Strength would have the fighters guild. Obviously, willpower. I think willpower would be a great place to introduce the blades. To have more of the blades in that, because they were very strong. They were strong fighters. They defended the empire, the emperor, to their death, if need be, and they were very loyal. And they're also like the emperor's also like part dragonborn, so you can have maybe a dragon introduced into that, which brings me to a neutral legendary you can have with that, and that's Martin. Very similar to Jib and very similar to Delphine. It's a pretty weak body, but when it slays, it transforms. It transforms into, in game, Martin sacrificed himself and shattered the Amulet of Kings to become an avatar of Akatosh. So you can have an avatar of Akatosh, of something of crazy power, come out just from Martin slaying something. It would be very strong. I would say, arguably, probably another god card like power. So, with Dagoth Vivek, Almexia, and Sothasil, though, you know how those cards have pretty insane powers. Avatar of Akatosh would have a pretty insane power. A legendary for endurance would be the infamous Manamarco, the King of Worms, which would also relate a little bit to the worm with the what is it called? It's Worm Agent, I think. Worm King's Agent. You could have that. It would help related to this. It's an endurance. It would be an endurance class. Therefore, it could be the legend. It could be, you could introduce more legendaries into the more double class legendaries into this expansion, and it would be a Breton sorcerer legendary, which would be pretty awesome. There were no Atronachs in that game, no new ones at least. All the ones that are already in this game, but you could easily make a card that could conjure them up. For example, I know there's only one place you can get this, and I forget the name, but he's in the Skingrad Mages Guild, and he teaches you the spell to summon Storm Atronachs. You could have him as an intelligence legendary, and he summons, depending on the cost and the stats, he could summon one or two Storm legendaries. He's a unique, and he could be basically the the Storm Atronach version of the Atromancer. So they have quite a bit to pull from. I'm just throwing out a few examples here, but that is the class that I think is going to come out next or the expansion that's going to come out next. And if it does, woohoo, I called that right. But if it doesn't, don't worry, I have one more prediction for you. And that is, they pull some more resources from Elder Scrolls Online. Now, I haven't read too much about either or, but I know they had recently a Morrowind edition to Elder Scrolls Online. A lot of the cards that were in, I'm not 100% sure, but I'm pretty sure quite a few of the cards that were introduced were, if not the majority of them, were from the actual Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind, almost said Oblivion there, with a couple of them coming from online. since they only really pulled a couple from Morrowind, they could also choose to go to Elder Scrolls Online and pull a few more from Morrowind. They just announced a Somerset Isle expansion, which has me thinking that this could be the next place we go. We go to Somerset Isle, home of the not dark elves, home of the high elves. We see all this incredible magic there, and we pull elements from that expansion of online and add them to Legends. That's another direction that I think. I don't know anything else about Somerset Isle, but I know that could potentially be it. And the third one, I think it would just be at a random. I think it ultimately depends on what. And this is, I might be speaking of maybe a conspiracy, or just a completely wild theory, but I think the next expansion, it was hinted at. It can be hinted at in any card expansion, or not card expansion, in any set in any adventure expansion, like Return to Clockwork City or Dark Brotherhood Sanctuary, or Dark Brotherhood, Fall of the Dark Brotherhood. Thank you. There's the name. Why do I think that? Well, think back to them. Fall of the Dark Brotherhood. Why would I think this had anything to do with Heroes of Skyrim? Well, think about it. Where do you go for number 3, for Acts 3 and 4? Where do you go for them? Well, it's obvious. You go to Skyrim. That's a little coincidental there. That's just them telling the story, yes, but then where do you go after that? You go to Breville. What happens in Breville? The Night Mother falls. Garnag takes the Night Mother away, and if you played Skyrim, you know that Cicero eventually is the only one left in his sanctuary, and he takes care of the Night Mother and then brings the Night Mother to where? Skyrim. So the ending of that story also leads into that. Now, this might seem completely out there to some people, but now look at Clockwork City. Where do you go in Acts 3 and 4? Well, you go to the Clockwork City. But where's Clockwork City located? Morrowind. At least I'm pretty sure I am 99% sure that it's located in Morrowind. And if I'm wrong with that, well, then this debunks this whole theory, but Clockwork City's in Morrowind. You're on Morrowind soil for Acts 3 and, well, technically 4, because if you took 2 steps backwards out of the entryway in the labyrinth that you're in, you're back into Morrowind, but still you're in Morrowind. And when the story ends, what happens? All the Chimer that are in there, which is the predecessor to the Dark Elf race, they either live in peace in that little piece of Morrowind, or they leave to go rejoin their other Dark Elf brothers, which is in Morrowind. Again, you see what I'm saying here. You're in Morrowind for this bit. And, well, I think it may have been obvious from the get-go that they were going to Morrowind because, well, you started in Skyrim. You started in Skyrim with that expansion. The adventure starts in Skyrim. And what was the last expansion before Clockwork City? Heroes of Skyrim. You were already in Skyrim. The game is telling a story, and you're slowly going through that entire story. Dark Brotherhood, you end up following the story of the forgotten hero who helps the Night Mother get to Skyrim. He helps the Night Mother escape Cyrodiil, which is war-torn at this point. In Clockwork City, you either help the Chimer be able to stay in the Clockwork City, or you force them to abandon and leave the Clockwork City to go through Morrowind. We just had the expansion of Morrowind. So, if I were to be a betting man, I would say that the next expansion, you're going to have something to do in Morrowind. I think it's going to come down to what is that? I think it's called Blood Moon expansion, where you go to Solstheim for the first time, and a bunch of stuff happens, and some of the events in there basically alludes to the Oblivion Crisis. We're gonna have that happen, and where did the Oblivion Crisis happen in? Happened in Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion. So I think potentially I believe that if we are to go to Oblivion, we're gonna get a teaser to it in the next adventure expansion. It's going to be, we start in Morrowind, we do something, and there's a story that happens, we do something to leave Morrowind, and where will we end up? We are either going to end up in the Somerset Isles, in which case I believe we're going to get an Elder Scrolls Online addition to this game through Somerset Isles, or again, which I believe where we're going to go to Cyrodiil, where the hero is going to be ready to take on some Oblivion threats. That's where I believe we're going with this. It's a little bit crazy, and I feel like I kind of lost my train and maybe lost a few people. But just as a recap, look at the locations that the adventures happened in. Look at the expansions that came after those adventures. Don't include the Forgotten Hero set because that's not really expansion. That's just, hey, here's some free cards. Oh, not here's some free cards. Here's some cards you can buy with some gold, and you get all of them at once instead of buying packs to open them up. But just look at those major expansions that happen. You'll see that this theory that I have, that the next combined with the pattern that this has been going in, we've had 2 major Elder Scrolls Legends games that have done very well. I believe the third one's going to be the next expansion, and I think that we're going to have an adventure to support that. But that's just a theory. Game theory. Oh dear, I just quoted somebody else without asking permission. Oh no. But it's true. It's a game. It's a theory on a game. So, to those of you who actually stuck through all of that and didn't just leave because they thought I was crazy, thank you very much for watching. I hope you liked the reviews I had. Leave a like if you enjoyed. Hit that subscribe button if you really enjoyed. Don't forget to share this video or any of my other videos to anybody who you think will enjoy my content. And next time, we're going to be getting back to the action, to the actual gameplay of Elder Scrolls Legends. No more theories, no more reviews of the expansions, no more card reviews because I already did that for the monthly card. No more of that. Just going to be back to the epic, awesome gameplay of Elder Scrolls Legends. Until then, guys, take it easy.